This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, perfect. So today we'll go through the My Tracker tools,
Yep.
WellSteps wellness plan, and then some of the customizable dashboard and homepage tools.
Okay.
So we'll start out with My Tracker. And this, of course, is the activity tracking tool. This
Yep.
icon right here, where users can set up exercise, eating, or custom tracker. So there's actually not very much admin stuff to do here. The first thing is to turn on the icon. So you have the option to either offer this tool or not, and you can set it up in Company Admin. And just like the other tools, you just click on the box to turn on the icon.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll turn this one on in here.
Do you use this with most of yours?
Yeah, typically, I don't actually think I have a group that doesn't use it. It's just
Yeah.
a really nice tool to offer, and groups love it. So yeah, I don't think anybody doesn't use it. Really.
Okay.
But in case people are really picky, we do have some clients that specifically only do PHA and biometrics, or they only do rewards or things like that. So if you have any groups that do that, that's why we have the option there to turn it on and off.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, typically we just leave it on for all of our groups. So you'll click the box to turn on the icon and the tool. And then in Company Admin, there's a couple of different things you can do here. The first one is you have the option to hide the manual entry bar for exercise trackers.
Okay.
And this is, so for the exercise tracker, you can sync a device and the device will just automatically sync the data. And then
Mm-hmm.
there's also this manual add bar here, and we can turn that off. So if you have any groups that just want device data in there and they don't even want the option for people to be able to add manual information, then you
Mm-hmm.
can turn off or hide that bar
Okay.
right here, and you just check the box and it will hide.
Okay.
That's really easy. It's just an on-off tool. And then we can add a daily cap on different things. And I'm not actually sure under what circumstances you would need a daily cap. I don't have any groups that use this, but
Yeah.
in case you need to put a cap on, like in case you maybe we added this because we had users that were trying to manually add like 50,000 steps for every day. Because
Right.
in the world, since we can integrate with My Tracker, the more things you do, depending on the setup, you can get more points based on what
Okay.
you do. So maybe this is just for user error or something like that.
Yeah.
I have never used it with my groups. However, I could see in that instance it might be useful just to sort of prevent any errors, I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah, so you can enforce the daily maximum in any of these units.
Okay.
So this part of company admin is really straightforward. And then we do have some reports with My Tracker, which we'll go through in reporting. And then the only other admin features that are involved with My Tracker are a few places where we can augment data or sort of manage trackers. And this is in the miscellaneous section of the admin menu. So if you go down here, you'll see two different tabs. The first one is augment device data. And this can be used to override existing totals, or just in case for any users, maybe one day of their tracker, the data didn't pull correctly, or
Okay.
um, maybe there's just a gap or a hole in their data and they send you the steps that they need to be recorded or something like that. So in case we ever need to augment data, you can go to your company and then select, so you can add data for a user for a specific day, and if you click add, it will pop up this box. You can select the name from the list, so I'll add for this user. And then you can select the date that you want to augment the data for.
Okay.
For example, maybe this user emailed me and said, my steps didn't pull on December 6th, and I would like them to show for that. Can you add my 10,000 steps in for that day? And any data that you enter in here should be the total, including any manual steps or anything like that. So maybe the user did 5,000 steps that they did in exercise, but they weren't wearing their device, and
Mm-hmm.
then the device recorded 10,000 steps. They would say, I want you to put 15,000 steps for the day for in total.
Got it.
And so I would come in and put 15,000 steps here and then save, and then it would add that. Oh wow, I did the same thing on the other one too. It would add that step count or whatever unit you chose. It would add that to their My Tracker page. It would also add that to the social tab here because the leaderboard pulls from device data. So this augmented data page right here will show for anywhere that device data shows in the system, including the leaderboard, my tracker. If there's a campaign that's pulling synced device data over, then all of this, any augmented data will pull over there as well.
Okay.
I think that's it. So yeah, anywhere that data shows from a device, this augmented data will show.
Okay.
And the nice thing is, if there's multiple days that you need to add data for a user, and if you add something once and then there's multiple days, you just click add again, it will keep the user pulled up and it will go to the next day.
Okay.
So this is really nice in case you have a week where there's a gap where for some reason something didn't pull, or maybe they weren't wearing their device or something like that. You can just come in.
Okay. Now, are you usually the person that makes those changes, or do you have somebody on location?
I'm usually the one, just because our on-site team doesn't have access to this page. It's specific for admins. So you as a reseller guide have access, but none of your on-site coordinators would have access.
Okay. Okay.
And the main reason for that is just because this can be considered personal health information.
Yep.
So yeah, so to just, avoid violating any policies or anything, we
for sure.
for us as admins, just third party. But it's really easy to do, and usually in our kickoffs or launches, we'll just put a note when we're introducing my tracker, and we'll say, if you have any questions or if you need help entering data, or if you have any questions about syncing a device, just contact your WellSteps guide or your reseller guide or whatever contact.
Okay.
So that's something you can put. And I don't do this often. The most recent, the last time I did this was about a week ago. I had a user email, and when she started her My Tracker, she didn't wear her device for the first week. And so she just sent me her minutes of exercise for that week, and I just came in and entered it, and then it showed up on her My Tracker.
Okay.
She just had forgotten to wear a device. So things like that. And then you can also, in case somebody wants their tracker to start, or if the date needs to be changed or something, the next tab is right underneath Augment Device Data. It's called Manage User My Trackers. And this is a little bit different. So you still select your company and your user, and then you can see what trackers are running for the person.
Okay.
And you can edit the start date. So for example, if maybe a user starts a tracker a couple of weeks into the program, but they have data for the first 2 weeks, and they want you to augment the data so that it shows in their My Tracker, and maybe edit the tracker start date so that it's showing those 2 weeks. You can go to Manage Tracker, and you can click on the edit bar and change the start date.
Okay.
But you can only go, since My Tracker runs weekly, as you can see here, it only gives you the option to go
week to week.
Yeah, you can go weekly or you can go back. Based on the day when they started the tracker.
Okay.
And then it will show those weeks previously or forward. And then you can actually have 2 trackers running at once. So one of the things, something that we often get asked is, well, not often, but it comes up occasionally, is if we can merge My Trackers. For example, maybe somebody accidentally ends a tracker and then they start a new one and they want to merge the trackers together. Yep. Unfortunately, we can't do that with this tool. This is a very new tool for us, so that might be like a 2.0 enhancement that we make. For now, we have the ability to edit the start dates, but we can't actually merge the trackers yet. So you might get questions about that, and you can just let them know that we can't merge the trackers, but we can, augment data and make sure that their currently running tracker is accurate and all of that.
So can they switch trackers mid, campaign or whatever?
So in the My Tracker page, you can end a tracker and set up a new one. You can add more weeks to the tracker. Okay. You can't see multiple exercise trackers running at once, or like a history of trackers.
Off the top of your head, can you think of an example of when people would want 2 of them running?
No, mostly it's just an accident. Maybe somebody accidentally hits end tracker instead of another.
Okay.
In that case, it's just user error.
Okay.
But when we introduce the tool, we just let everybody know you can only have one of each tracker running at once. You can see all 3 trackers, but you just can't have 2 exercise trackers running. And sometimes Well, actually, here's an example. Some users want to see their steps and their minutes of exercise, and in that case, I just tell them to set up, if they have a device, just set that one up in the exercise section, and then set up the other one in the custom field, because you can do minutes here or hours.
Oh, yeah.
So they would just manually enter that data into the custom tracker, and then their device would be synced with device. Or even if they didn't have a device and they wanted two different ways, you could do it that way as well. But that's an example of why somebody might want two exercise trackers running.
Okay.
But yeah, most of the time when users end a tracker and set up a new one, well, not most of the time, just sometimes it could be an error, or sometimes people just want their data to be merged. But the
Okay.
nice thing about running from program to program is that you can leave the My Tracker tool on and just refresh the other tools, and then it could have weeks and weeks of a certain tracker running.
Yep.
And in My Tracker, you can see all the way from week 1, it will give you a chart with
Okay.
your data and progress. And as you can see, this current tracker that I have, it's been running for over a year. So yeah, this is a tool where you can really see progress and change. So sometimes for users, it's sad when they accidentally end one. That's only happened to maybe 2 or 3 users ever that I've worked with, but it does happen. And so just know, currently we can't merge trackers, but that's something that might come down the pipeline in the future with this tool.
Yep.
So yeah, okay, let's see. Questions about this page? It's pretty straightforward. This one's mainly just to edit the start dates.
Yep. Good with that.
And this just works in tandem with augment device data in case people want more historical data added for the first couple of weeks or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so those are pretty straightforward. I think that covers it with My Tracker. It's a very, very simple tool, not many admin functions involved. So we covered those 3. Any questions there?
Nope.
Good.
Good. That seems pretty easy.
All right, perfect. All right, then let's go into WellSteps Plus and Wellness Plan. And these two tools were designed to sort of work together, but you can use one or the other. You don't have to use them together. So WellSteps Plus is our biometric value related tool, and it will categorize users in healthy or unhealthy categories based on their biometric values. So it's basically our data management, or yeah, data management. Is that the right word? Anyway, it works with the biometric values to categorize users.
Okay.
This tool is mainly backend. So users don't actually ever see whether they're marked as healthy or unhealthy. We see it in our reports, and we can provide communication to the users based on their category, but it won't show in their program center. It won't say healthy or unhealthy.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So just like the other tools, you'll set it up in Company Admin. And we also have a planning sheet that I'll show you on the guides page, and it's something that you can use to sort of plan out the different values that you want to use with your groups.
Okay.
But it looks very similar to actually going there. Okay. There we go. Okay. Oh man. It's only Tuesday. It feels like a Friday for some reason.
know.
Okay. So, WellSteps Plus, it's down near the end of the list here, and turning this on will just turn it on the back end. There's no icon or tab or anything that's turned on. It will just notify the system that you're using the tool.
Okay.
So it doesn't appear anywhere user facing. It's just for the back end that the tool's turned on. All right, so I'm going to skip the first section of this and go down to the second section, which is where you'll actually set up the criteria that you need the users to meet. And we have a few different ways that you can do this. So if you're setting this up for the first year with a group, you'll probably just use the criteria met rather than percent improvement, because you do need some sort of baseline data or historical data for the improvement to take effect. But for year 2 or 3, you can do percent improvement in here, and that will work just fine. So as you can see, we have a general criteria, male or female criteria, and you don't have to have all 3 of them filled out. You can just do, general or male, female for the different metrics depending on what you want to use.
Okay.
And then with each of these, there's the different symbols. So you could do equal, greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, etc. So there's all of that there, and then you can put in your value. And for many of these, some of the general guidelines are already pre-filled that you can use, or you can customize. So there are some groups where they want only really, really borderline or really unhealthy values to be the criteria, and then those who are borderline will be considered healthy, etc. So it just depends on the group sometimes.
Okay.
But generally, just the general guidelines will be pre-filled in here for you to use. And then we have a few different metrics. So you can do, you can check off which ones you want the system to save for. And then these top ones right here is for metabolic syndrome. And so you can set these up specifically for metabolic syndrome. And then below that, there's just the regular metrics.
Okay.
So two are just for specific conditions, diabetes and metabolic syndrome.
Yep.
But you can scroll down and just do the regular metrics here. So for any that you want to set up, you'll just check the box and then put in the values here that you want the system to check for to categorize one way or the other, and then click Save.
Okay.
So depending on what you put here, when biometrics are uploaded for the user, the system will mark them according to your criteria set here as healthy or unhealthy.
Okay.
And this is different from, so if we go to assessment and screening, the values that you set in WellSteps Plus will not affect how the biometrics show on this biometric tab. Because so with the PHA, we have specific standards for showing the user feedback. So the green, yellow, or red, healthy, borderline, and unhealthy values. That will stay the same no matter what you put in WellSteps.
So the WellSteps, okay, so the WellSteps Plus is like its own thing. It's not going to be connected to anything on here.
Right. But we do have, and we'll talk about this in a minute, we do have a box that we can show here, a table that we can show that will show their feedback on WellSteps Plus. So you can show one or the other of these, but this biometrics page is connected to the PHA, and WellSteps Plus is not connected here. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Okay, good. And we'll talk, we'll turn on the box down here and show how that works. But anyway, so they could have a healthy value here, or maybe a borderline. Maybe they have a borderline value here, but it's considered healthy for WellSteps Plus. So when they're back for WellSteps Plus, it would show them as healthy, even though it's a yellow or red value here.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it all just depends on what metrics
the client wants. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so you'll mark off what you want, and you can just use combination, put in your values here, and then you'll click Save after each one.
Okay.
And then you can go down the list. So we have all of the basic, just standard metrics, and then there's a couple that only specific groups use, like not everybody tests for cotinine or bone density and all of that.
Okay.
So you can choose what you'd like to use, but we have the full list here. And then, okay, and then going back to the top of the list, and actually before we go on, questions about setting up the criteria here. It's pretty straightforward.
Nope, got it.
Based on what the client wants. Okay, now we go up to the top of the tab, and here's where the communications part comes in.
Yes.
So, well, actually, before we get there, the first box is employee meets requirements if their data is uploaded during year one. So if you're doing this for the first year, and rather than having the users categorized based on their values, if you just want those who receive a screening to be marked as healthy and to have successfully met the requirements for that first year, you can check that. And then anybody who has a screening done will automatically make the healthy category, and those who don't will remain in the unhealthy category.
Okay.
So that's a year one option if you'd like to do it that way.
Do you use that often?
Actually, with the groups that I'm using WellSteps Plus with, it was sort of a longer transition.
Yeah.
And so what we did was everybody was incentivized to receive a screening for the first couple of years, and then we slowly introduced WellSteps Plus so that by the time we were ready to do something outcomes based, the users they were already getting their biometric screenings, and then we integrated everything.
Okay.
So I'd consider this more of like if you're coming right out of the gate with biometrics and none of the users have a screening, nobody's really familiar with biometric screenings, then you would
Yeah,
probably.
I think most of our groups, they're obviously not using WellSteps yet, but they've already been having screenings and biometrics and stuff. So
Yeah, so in that
won't be
case,
new.
it would probably be an easy transition for them.
Mhm.
But some groups are really unfamiliar, and employees just maybe aren't aware of their numbers or what the numbers mean or anything like that. So
Mhm.
anyway, yeah, this is probably more of a rare thing than anything, just
Yes.
because those groups take a while to transition over to outcomes based.
Okay.
So yeah, good question though. Okay, and then undetermined equals unhealthy. So this could be if the user doesn't receive a screening, they're automatically unhealthy. That's that function. Otherwise, it will be undetermined for them if you leave that box unmarked. They won't have a healthy or unhealthy category.
Okay.
So if you would like no data to be marked unhealthy, you can check that box. And that's just mainly for reporting purposes and for notifications. Because if you remember in the emailer, we can schedule emails to send to healthy versus unhealthy.
Yes.
So this is where this would come into effect. Anybody who doesn't have a screening would receive that the unhealthy
Email.
community.
Okay.
So those are those two options there. Oh wow, I'm getting weird. Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. I was getting a weird echo. Are you hearing an echo from my mic?
Not right now, but I was for a second there.
Okay. Let's see. I'm still getting an echo.
I don't hear it anymore.
You don't hear it? Okay. That's good. I'll just keep going then. Let me know if it gets bad. Okay. So then we get to some communications that we'll send out once you actually implement the tool. And this is a pass or fail email that will send when the data is uploaded. So if you to start the outcomes-based program later on, so maybe you kick off in January, but you don't want the user to, or you don't want to implement halfway through.
Mhm.
Maybe you have 6 months where users are getting their biometrics done, and you're having their data uploaded, and then after you want to send something out, that the email send date to any time within the program.
Okay.
So you can send this out for June, and then maybe January and June, when participants are getting uploading, and then starting on June 1st, the emails will be sent out based on their data information. So they would either receive the plus pass email or the plus fail email based on their biometric. And these are customizable. We have just a standard here, but you can edit it and offer like what their standard.
Okay. Your audio is actually going a little bit in and out.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna try to plug in a different mic. One second.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Oh wow, that's great.
Okay, I'm getting a weird echo.
Are you hearing it when I talk?
No, it's
Or
just
when-
on
just
my
on your
end, which is weird.
It sounds really clear to me now.
Oh, good. Okay, let's see. Okay. I don't know why it's so echoey. Okay, well, if you can't hear it, then that's fine. I'll just keep going.
Is that going to drive you crazy?
Um, it might, but sometimes it goes away. Let's see.
Okay.
Weird. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going, and then if it gets really bad, then I'll I'll try something else. But
Okay.
we'll just keep going. So, okay. With the emails, these emails will send to the user to let them know whether they've passed according to the criteria that you set or if they failed. And you can see the standard messages here. And this email date, it just determines the first date that the emails will send out. So for example, if you have a bunch of data uploaded before this date, and then June 1st hits, these emails are sent out to those with data in the system. And then for the rest of the program year, from July to December, maybe there's more users that get their screenings done and their data is uploaded. Since June 1st is passed, as soon as the data is uploaded for those users, the pass or fail email will send to them. So this basically allows you to sort of bottleneck when, or bottleneck's not the right word, but it allows you just to set a start date for the pass fail email. If that does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, just in case you want to wait for the first communications about the outcomes-based pass or fail to go out, then you can use this to sort of hold off on any communications.
Okay.
And this, I think with my groups, we use this when maybe for one of the quarters, they're just focusing on getting the screenings done, and then at the end of the quarter is when we want to send out the first emails. So maybe January to March is when we would get the screenings done, and then April 1st is when the first emails are sent out. And then there are always some stragglers that get their screenings done later in the year.
Yep.
But this is just a nice way to sort of manage when everybody gets communication sent to them. So does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So we have some communications options here and then setting up the metrics down here. And this is all in company admin.
Okay.
And that's basically all you have to do to set it up on the back end. There's a couple other things that we'll go over, but it's basically all within the WellSteps Plus tab. So the other part is actually within the PHA tab, which is a little bit confusing because WellSteps Plus isn't connected to the biometrics page like we were talking about before. But there's a place on the biometrics page where you can show the WellSteps Plus chart like we were talking about before. So that's down at the bottom of the PHA tab.
Show it just for us on our side?
Actually, for the users, yeah. So for example, we have the biometrics chart here, and then we can set up a WellSteps Plus table here to show that will show their values based on your WellSteps Plus requirements.
Okay.
So I'm going to go to my test company now so we can just see it in real time. Okay. Are you still, is my audio still okay for you?
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm down in the PHA tab. And then down at the bottom, there's this biometrics section. And we're just going to focus on these first two. We won't worry about the bottom one, unless you use e-health screenings, and then we can talk about that, but no, it's not a big deal. Okay, so the first one is hide biometric grid. And the biometric grid is what we're looking at right here. This is called the biometric grid. And then the second one is show plus grid. And this will show, like we were talking about, the user's values compared to the WellSteps Plus requirements.
Okay.
So the options here are to hide the biometric grid, which will hide the grid, obviously, and then you can show plus grid. You can also show both, and in that case, you would just have the show plus grid checked. Now, the reason why you would want to only show the plus grid would be because maybe your plus values are so different from the standard.
Yeah, you don't want to have any arguments there.
Yeah, and then users might get confused, and it might cause more problems than it's worth. So it just depends on what standards you're using, what value thresholds you're using, or ranges. But let me refresh the page, and we can see what it looks like. I think I have some plus things set up, so we'll see if it'll show. Okay. So we're here on the biometrics page again, and you can see that the grid, the biometrics grid, is still showing. But now we also have the plus grid. So it shows your values, and then the criteria that's been set for each of the different things that you checked off, and then healthy criteria met, or
Okay.
and then it will show a little bit more feedback. So for example, this one says failed to meet criteria. Oh, but why does it say? This technically should say unhealthy, according to this criteria. Or Interesting. So this one should be unhealthy, but it might be, there's probably something else going on there. Anyway, this is what the plus grid looks like. So does that make sense? You can have both, or you can just have plus grid.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And that, again, is under the PHA tab, down under the biometric section. These two tools, hide biometric grid and show plus grid. All right, so any questions there?
No, that's good.
All right, sounds good. So now you can, on the reseller guides page, you can view a planning sheet for WellSteps Plus. And that is under, it's not my forms. See. Oh, Health Coaching Plus and Plan. So there's a WellSteps Plus poster that you could use. There's also a planning template. And this is something you can go through with your clients if you'd like. Oh, also we have a reseller updates email that will go out. So that's how it pulled up there. Anyway, off topic. Okay, so this is the Plus planning sheet. And it looks actually quite similar to what shows up in company admin.
Okay.
Go through your client on if they want the requirements, if they have data uploaded. You can go through the different metrics, set up requirements, some different alternate standard options you can go through with them, and then the different email options. So if you'd like to set up a communications plan with your group, there are some samples here of things you could send out.
Okay.
And then also you can set up the pass or fail email with them and just go through that. So this is just a template you can use to go through outcomes-based planning with your group if you want to. Definitely don't have to use it, but sometimes it comes in handy to have something already set up. A lot of groups that I work with will use the rewards planning sheet actually to set up Plus rather than having two different things. We'll sort of set it up as part of the rewards program or on that page, just so it's all of the program components are in a single sheet. But you can use this if you'd like.
Okay.
And I think that takes care of Plus. Let me check. We did the Plus grid. All right. So any questions about that? We can move on to Wellness Plan.
No, that's good.
Great. Okay. So Wellness Plan is a tool that was developed to work in tandem with Plus so that you could show the users what they've completed as far as WellSteps Plus goes, but it also has a lot of other capabilities.
Okay.
A lot of groups will use Wellness Plan to show premium reduction requirements, or if they have a separate incentive outside of rewards, usually it's specific to insurance or other benefits. That's what the group will use Wellness Plan for. And as you can see in my Plus company, this is the Wellness Plan tool right here. This icon appears, and the title is customizable. So the general title for it is Wellness Plan, but as you can see here, I have the title as 2020 Health Insurance Premium Reduction. And this is where you can show a list of just very simple requirements. For many of them, the system can check for completion of different things and automatically mark it complete. We can also tie it into WellSteps Plus and say met blood pressure or completed, or maybe 3 out of 7 healthy values or something like that, which a lot of groups do for an outcomes-based program. Maybe the employees only have to meet a certain number of healthy values or something like that. You can set that all up in Wellness Plan.
Got it.
So setting this up is pretty straightforward too. So to turn on let me actually close out of this PHA tab. All right, so we have WellSteps Plus, and then Wellness Plan. You'll check the box to turn on the icon. And then right here is where you can customize the name. So it will default to say Wellness Plan, but you can just come in here and change to anything that you'd like. Required activities. You could do something like this where it's a health benefit, wellness incentive activities, anything like that. It can be it's actually a very versatile tool, and it comes in handy when you have 2 separate incentive systems with a group.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so you can customize the title there. And then you can enable it for spouses. Sometimes spouses are or aren't included. You can check that off. And then there's a couple of different ways to get to where you'll actually set up the wellness plan activities. The first one is to just click here where it says Manage Wellness Plan Items. And the second is to go here to Manage Wellness Plan. If you click on this tab in the admin menu, you'll have to select the company from the drop-down. But if you click on here, it will just take you straight to that company's wellness plan page. So as you can see, my company is already here. You can see the customized title and the wellness plan name. Something to notice that you can only change the title in company admin, even though this looks like it can be customized. If you try to change something here, it won't actually go into effect.
Okay.
So that's a note there. And then just a reminder, if you go through this tab, you'll select your company from the drop-down, but nothing will show until you select your company. So that's fine. Okay, so this is a page where we'll set up the different conditions. And I'm just going to uncheck these, and then we'll go through how to set them up. So as you can see, I have a lot of here, and you can inactivate or activate any of them at any time. So if you're starting fresh and you want to add in a plan item, you'll just click on Add Plan Item, and then type in the display name. And we'll typically try to do simpler titles with fewer things, just because. Well, let me go over to the home page. It just shows that little checkbooks here. Oh.
Okay.
Dang it. I think my user category is wrong for this test user, but anyway, as you can see, there's a little box that will appear. So we generally try to keep the text associated with the requirement a little bit of a shorter thing. And then in the actual wellness plan page itself, there's a spot where you can put more information, more text, and sort of expand on the title.
Okay.
So for example, maybe I'll just put personal health assessment here, which for a lot of groups is a requirement for
Pretty standard, yeah.
Whatever, yeah, it's pretty standard. So once you add a plan item, it will show not active, and then you'll just check the box to activate it. And then there's a couple different things. You can edit the title, or the display name as it's called, and then you can apply it to specific user categories. So for example, if you have categories that are based on insurance, maybe one of them is insured, one of them is waived or not covered, or you do covered, not covered, something like that, you can just show it for those who are insured if you want. So for example, maybe I just am showing this for all of the covered employees and spouses, but I'm not going to select my waived group.
Okay.
You can do that. And then you can sort where it shows on the list. So if you have a specific order that you'd like the items to show in, then you can sort it there. And this is another example of our sorting system. The 0 will show on the top, and then 1, 2, etc.
Yep.
The rewards activity categories are the only place where it's opposite. Okay. So then we get down here to where you actually set your condition. And the nice thing about wellness plan is that for these conditions, the system can check to just automatically. It works very similarly to autocomplete, where the rewards, where we set up the rewards activities, if you remember that. So this list will look very similar to the autocomplete list, except there's a few more options available with wellness plan. So we can do biometrics, we can do completing a campaign, we can do having a current PHA, which is what we would do for this one. So I would select PHA has a current PHA. And then you can also do multiple conditions, which we'll look at some examples of these in just a minute. But for now, if you just have one condition for the item, you just select it from the list and then go down and click Save. And then we have some options here, and we can show an item complete message, and we can show an item incomplete message. And these will show on the wellness plan page here. So let me refresh since now I have something activated. Yep. So as you can see, I have this showing. And if I add a complete message here, it will show now underneath this item since it's complete.
Okay. Now the view we're looking at right now when you show me that screen that's from the user's perspective, correct?
Yes, this is from the user's perspective.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. So on the dashboard, they'll just see the checklist here.
Yep.
But in the wellness plan page, they'll see an expansion of those
Got it.
items. Yeah. All right. So typically for a complete message, I just do something simple like you have completed this activity. Just something simple like that. You can format the text in these boxes and all of that since it's the editor box. And then the incomplete message is where you can provide more information. So, for example, you could say, click here to take, except with personal health assessment, since it shows right on login, usually you won't have to provide direction for taking the PHA.
Right.
Right. They will have already done it, but for example, you could do something like this. You could say view your, or maybe, let's see, and screening tab to see your results. Something like that, and then you could link straight to the assessment and screening page, or maybe you have information on biometric screenings through another vendor. You could link to an outside website. You could link to any forms that need to be uploaded here. So you can treat this section sort of like a rewards activity a little bit. You can provide any additional information that's needed directly in these boxes. So now I'll click save. And now if I refresh from the user's perspective, that complete message should show up. Yep, there it is right there.
Okay.
And this page is sort of the items show in gray. So typically I'll do like green for the complete message, or just different colors to
make it stand out a little bit.
Yeah, make it stand out a little bit more. Yeah. So you can play around with the formatting and see what you like.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's how to set up an item. You have the title, user category, sort, function, and then you add in your conditions or condition, and then the complete and incomplete message. And that is everything for setting up the thing, the items. And as you can see, since when I clicked save, another box appeared, so you can select multiple conditions if you'd like, and you can do and in case the user has to complete both items for the requirement to be marked complete, or you can do or, and then if the user completes one or the other, it will be marked complete. Okay. So lots of different capabilities here. Now let's go through a couple of examples of different things you can do, and we'll go through the list of the conditions available. So this next one, it's an example of just a health screening. So I have biometrics as my condition. Now, along with biometrics, in case you have WellSteps Plus set up and you want to maybe do, or maybe you want to show each of the metrics you've set up and whether the user has met the requirement or hasn't. You can do this in as well as doing the plus grid on this page. It's just another way that you can show the completion of the requirements.
Okay.
So let's look at the list here. So we have a couple of different plus conditions that you can use. The first one is called plus checker. And this is one that you could do if the group just wants their employees to meet the requirements for some percentage of metrics that have been set up. So for example, maybe the group wants them to meet 3 out of 7 or 4 out of 7. And this is just based on my test company and what I have set up. This number will update based on how many values you have set up for your company in Plus. So you can select here, and then it won't look at specific biometric values. It will look at the total, and it will say this user completed 5 out of the total. Some groups, maybe they have a specific blood pressure that they want the user to meet, and then the rest of them they want to be like 4 out of 7, if that makes sense. So the plus checker won't look at one value specifically, and then the rest of them it will just look at the whole group, if that makes sense. So in that case, so let's take that condition, or let's take that situation. Maybe we don't want to use plus checker. Maybe we want to use met criteria, so that wellness plan will look at a specific biometric value. So let's say that blood pressure is something that the group wants the users to have very specific values for. We could select WellSteps plus met criteria, and then the metric from the list, and this will show everything that you have set up in WellSteps plus. And then based on the criteria for blood pressure, so this is what we've selected here, it will mark them complete or incomplete based on that criteria.
Okay.
So does that make sense, the difference between plus checker and met criteria? This is just for
Yes.
one specific thing, and plus checker will look at the total.
Okay.
From my experience, a lot of groups will use plus checker when there's other requirements that they have for a wellness plan. So maybe they have the personal health assessment, they have completing a biometric screening, and they have the outcomes. And they'll use plus checker for that, and it will be a certain number out of the total.
Okay.
The groups that use met criteria, many times wellness plan is only used for the criteria. So they'll have one item for each of the different values, and the user can see this whole list and whether or not they've met the requirement, and if there are other alternative standards or alternative activities available.
Okay.
So that's sort of an example of when you might use those. But sometimes met criteria is included in a larger list of activities along with other things. So questions on plus checker and the WellSteps plus met criteria conditions?
I don't think so. Not yet.
Okay, sounds good. And then for the WellSteps plus conditions, this is where you can use the incomplete message to provide other options. So you could say, for example, maybe with blood pressure, you could say something, let's see. So if you did not meet the requirement, you probably wouldn't say this, but you could just provide, please complete this blood pressure quizio, or something. You could use the field to provide additional education or the alternative standard that you have prepared for those who won't meet the requirement, something like that. That's where you can use an incomplete message to help communicate to the user in that instance. And a group that I work with, for example, with blood pressure, maybe they do have the blood pressure quizio set up, and we want to do the or function here. Either they meet the blood pressure value, or they complete the
quizio.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So that's how you could use the or in conjunction with biometric values. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to think of any other situations that might be helpful with plus checker and met criteria. I think that about covers it. If you have any questions, we can definitely go over that.
Yep.
All right. So then we get into some rewards conditions. The first one is complete an activity. And this is why we're going over WellSteps Plus and Wellness Plan last, because in order to select complete an activity as a condition, you'll need all of your activities set up for the company.
Got it.
So you want to make sure before you set up Wellness Plan that you have your campaigns and physios just scheduled, and then you have your rewards program set up so that you can set up your conditions accordingly.
Okay.
That you have everything in the listing. So you can select an activity from the drop-down, and then if the user completes that activity, this will be marked complete.
Okay.
And this is where a little bit more admin work might come in. So maybe you have a tobacco-free rewards activity that you need to manually verify, or maybe you have an auto-verify list. That's where the manual admin work would come into play. But the system would still automatically look at that rewards activity and then mark the wellness plan item complete, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, so there's complete an activity. You can also do obtain a reward level. So for example, maybe you have some required activity, biometrics, and some other things, and those are required for the user to reach the bronze level. Maybe you just want to have obtain a certain reward level as a wellness plan condition, and that will mean that they completed all of those required activities.
Okay.
You could do something like that. You could also do obtain a certain number of points. So maybe, actually, I don't know if I've ever used the obtain rewards points as a condition. But you could do it, and then you would just select from your activity category list. So, for example, maybe you have a biometric section in rewards, and they get a health score for their certain values or something, and they need to reach a certain level or a certain number of points to be eligible for some incentive. You could select your health screening category and then say maybe they need 80 points for this to be complete. This is one that I've never used, but I could see a situation where it might be beneficial to you. Let's see. Okay, I think that's the list, and then we have some spouse options that I'll show you how to use. So questions on this list, just overall?
No, looks good.
All right, sounds good. So the last option here that we have is that you can set up spouse completions to show for employees. This can be a little bit confusing. So for an example, I'll use the personal health assessment condition. So we have this set up for spouses and employees, and this will show their own personal completion of the activity. For the employees, it will show when they completed the assessment, and for the spouses, on their program center, they'll see their completion of the personal health assessment.
Okay.
Sorry, the echo's getting bad again. Is the audio still good for you?
Yeah, it's good on my end.
Good. All right. So now if we want the employee to see their spouse's completion, we can set up another condition here. So this would be personal health assessment spouse completion. And this could show on the employee's program center for their spouse's completion of the PHA.
Okay.
So it seems like you use the condition to show for spouses, but it's actually to show employees their spouse's completion, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we would show PHA has current PHA spouse. And this we want to show for the employees. So we would select employee from the drop down, but leave the spouses off since they already have their own assessment activity. So now we have the personal health assessment activity for employees and spouses, and then the personal health assessment spouse completion activity for the
Employee.
And we have that option for campaigns, biometrics, PHA, any of the The only one we currently don't have that option for is checker.
Okay.
But that's something that's in the works. I think I talked to my team about that a couple of weeks ago. But anyway, all the other options have that spouse condition if you'd like to use it. Yeah, does that make sense? Questions about that?
It does. Nope, that makes sense.
Perfect. Okay. Now the last thing here is that sometimes there are conditions that you want to add that the system doesn't have a way to check. So for example, maybe there's an on-site event or just something that just isn't involved with the website at all.
Attendance for something.
Yeah, attendance or maybe there's like a cessation. I think that's how you spell it. Oh,
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe there's a cessation program on site that they need to attend, something like that.
Yeah.
So we've added this, but now there's actually no condition for this. So, and maybe it's something that you don't have a rewards activity for even. So in this case, we have a wellness activity uploader that you can use to verify wellness activities. And this is separate from rewards. It can just be used for situations like this where there's no other place in the system where participation is being tracked for this particular thing.
Okay.
So in that case, the wellness activity uploader is down under utilities, and it's red biometric upload. So it says wellness activity uploader. And you'll click on that, and just like a lot of options in MISC utilities and verifying activities, all you'll need is a CSV with the company username. and then you'll select your company, and then you can select from the list of your wellness plan conditions. And in this case, we want to do the cessation program. And then you'll select your CSV and submit, and it will mark that wellness plan activity complete for those users.
Okay.
So this is an option just for any of those conditions where there's nowhere in the system for it to be tracked. It's
Got
just sort of manually
Mhm.
verified. So this is sort of the or wellness plan version of verifying rewards activity,
Okay.
if that makes sense. Let's see. So questions about wellness plan, setting up items, or verifying. I guess verifying isn't the right word. Marking complete activities like this.
Nope.
All right, sounds good. There's another place where you can see wellness plan completions, and this is in Manage Users. It's over here in the Options column, and it's right next to Rewards. So we have the Rewards icon here,
Mhm.
and then Wellness Plan is the fourth one, and it's the little clipboard. And if you click on that, it will take you to their personal wellness plan view and their
Got it.
complete plans and what completed to actually mark the requirement complete.
Okay.
So for example, you can see that it's marked complete and that the user opted out of the PHA, which would mark as a completion, I guess, in this case. But maybe for an activity like the cessation program, maybe they weren't included in your list, but you just want to come in and mark them complete quickly. You can just come in and say add completion for this activity, and it will just add the date, and then it will add a little timestamp.
Okay.
So that's how you could mark something complete individually. The wellness activity uploader would be more for large lists of completions or
Got
things
it.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it with wellness plan. Let's see. We did tab. Okay. So obviously wellness plan can be used for multiple different activities. It's very, very versatile. But
Mhm.
you can definitely use it as another way to show WellSteps Plus completions. We have the Plus grid that will go on the biometrics page, and then Wellness Plan to show in the dashboard and on the Wellness Plan specific page.
Mhm.
All right, so those are really our two last big tools. The last tools we have to cover are more, they're just smaller, our social tool, our managed tasks tool, and calendar. So we'll go through those today, and then I think we'll end for the day. And then really after that, the only thing we have to go over is reports. So we're doing really well.
Good.
We've covered a lot of stuff. Okay. Are you feeling good so far before we go on about these three? Okay.
Yes.
Sounds good. WellSteps Plus is one, well, actually, really with all the tools, it's just nice to go in and actually play around with it. But
And use
WellSteps
it, yeah.
Plus, especially, once you use it, it really starts to make more sense. So, yeah. All right. Let's go on then.
Okay.
So let's go on to the social tools. The first one is called My Story, and this is our old version of the social tool. So social is this pull-out tab with the share function and the leaderboard.
Mhm. Yep.
And then My Story is an old tool that shows on the dashboard scroll through option.
Mhm.
So this is My Story, and users can upload a little picture and share a story here. And then on the back end, we go in and approve or delete the stories depending on what's needed.
Yeah.
And with a lot of my new groups, I've actually only been offering social just because users like it a little bit more, and the leaderboard is really popular. So I actually haven't been turning on My Story for a lot of new groups. But if that's something you'd like to do, you can do that.
I don't think
We'll
I
just
would
go
in the beginning.
Okay. Well, I'll just go through quickly how it works. The admin features are really easy and simple to use, and it's the same way with social. So to turn on My Story, you'll do it in Company Admin. I think it's the bottom tab here. Yep.
Okay.
So if you check the box, it will show this little My Story thing in dashboard
Mhm.
right here. You can also change the name. So if you don't want it to be called My Story, if you want it to be called Wellness Stories or something like that, you can change the title there. And then you can see what stories have been submitted in Manage My Story. So under Miscellaneous, you click on Manage My Story. And we do have a few just pre-loaded WellSteps stories that are in there to rotate through until some more stories are submitted. So you'll see those in the shared stories
Cool.
section. Yeah.
Yeah.
It does say WellSteps team. So if you do decide to use My Story and you want to come in and edit these, you can do that. So it's more white labeled.
Yep.
But these are in here, and then if any stories are submitted, they'll show in this stories waiting for approval. And as you can see right here, it says disapprove. When they're up in this section, they approve. And this is just a way for us to filter through the stories that are submitted.
Okay. Now, for the users, how do these show up?
They show up in the dashboard section. So they won't be able to see, it'll just show sort of one story at a time. They won't be able to see all the stories at once, but you can click here to see those stories.
Okay.
And then we'll show them all.
Rotate which one they see? The same one first?
I think it rotates through. So every time they log in, there's a different one that's showing.
Got it.
I guess what else here? Yeah, so back to the admin functions. You can edit anything, just in case, you need to edit anything. I've never had a story that needed to be edited or really disapproved. Sometimes people submit weird stuff, but anyway, mostly they're fine. And then there's actually a limit with My Story. Users can only submit 3 stories at a time.
Okay.
So if you have any users that are really gung-ho about it and they try to submit like 5 and you need to delete a few, you can come in here and delete old stories that they've submitted, or you can just direct them to go into their My Story page, which is right here under Share Story. Actually, maybe they can't delete their own story. Maybe we have to do it for them. I've always just deleted old stories myself. I sort of went through
how long before they can do another one?
So it's not really a time limit. It's more of it's just a story limit. So they can only have 3 at any given time. And then if they try to submit another after 3, it won't let them submit the story.
I got it.
So I would just get emails from users saying, I'm trying to submit a story and it won't let me. And I'll just go in and delete some of their old stories.
One or something, yeah.
However, that can be kind of a pain because the stories don't show up in a list here. They just show up sort of as like text boxes. So you kind of have to sort through and find the user's oldest stories. So anyway, My Story, it's a little outdated is not the right word, but anyway, I don't know. I like social a lot better.
Yeah, I feel like that would be more popular.
Yeah. So, and with social, actually, the admin functions are even easier to use. So, well, before we go to social, any questions on My Story? Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that seems pretty simple.
Good. Okay. Good. So with social, there's not a tab in company admin, but there is a section in the general tab of company admin. And so I think we would have gone over this in the first training, but we'll review it right now.
Yeah.
All right. So in the general section, down under the inactive message. Oh, actually, I think it's maybe further down. Okay. So it's at the bottom of the very first section.
Yeah.
We have leaderboard start date, social, sharing, and leaderboard. So you can just do one or the other, and then with the leaderboard, you'll want a date associated with it.
Yes.
So do that there. All right. And now, when you're logged into your admin user, if you click on your social tab here, this is where all of your admin tools will be. So you'll see a drop down here with all of your child, and you can just toggle back and forth in the ones you want to look at, or you can just check in on all of them. It will update the leaderboard page according to what company you're in here. And then you can see all of the social submissions as well.
Okay.
You can check on the leaderboard, and you can check on share. You have the admin options here to delete anything. You can delete old comments. You can like any submissions, any of that. So really easy to use admin-wise.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so that's it with social and my story. Let's see. Okay, the last two tools are the dashboard tasks and the calendar. So let's go to the home page.
Do you
Right
get
here.
a lot of participation in the social?
Actually, I do. The leaderboard is really popular.
Yeah.
Share, it really depends on the on-site wellness team. If the committee and the coordinator that I work with are really active, then people participate a lot in social and will post a lot. But from what I found, if the on-site leadership if they're not very involved with social, then some people don't really want to post. But it also just depends on the group. Some personalities are more social media oriented than others. For example, there's a school district that I work with, and they post all the time. But I think it's just because of the environment, and the company. So it just depends on the group. However, I have found if the on-site team is involved, then people post, definitely.
Got it.
But leaderboard is popular across the board. That's a great tool. So with some groups, I'm thinking based on participation from this year, maybe we just turn off social or turn off sharing, the sharing tool for next year, and just provide leaderboard. But that's of course something that's just dependent on the group that you're working with. Great. Okay, so here on the home page, this section right here is where the dashboard tasks show. And we have a rotating list of tasks that are pre-written, but we can also customize tasks, or you can turn off tasks for certain tools. So once you check the box in Company Admin to turn on these tools, the tasks that are associated with them are also turned on. But maybe for the campaigns, maybe you have campaigns running, but you don't want any tasks to show for them for whatever reason, you can go in and turn off the tasks for that tool. So let's go over how to customize tasks and turn off tasks. So this will be in under the wellness section. Sorry, did you have a question before we go?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right, so this is under the wellness section under the campaigns tabs, and it says manage tasks there. So we'll click on manage tasks, and then you go to your company. I'll go to my test company again. And then there's a few different view options. So when you first go to the company, it will show the whole list of tasks that are running. And how we have our tasks set up is that it will show on a certain week of the month, and it will show for 1 week of the month. So as you can see here for challenge, it's the third week of every month. Oh wait. What is? Oh, this is priority. Sorry. So we can do up to 4 tasks on the dashboard, and we can set up the tasks according to priority, and then we can set so it looks like with the challenge one. Every month for the first week of the month, starting on a Monday, so Monday to Monday. And if there's a challenge running, this is the task that would have. If there's no challenge or campaign running, they won't show. But anyway, this is just sort of the view. So we can do the third week of the month, the fourth week of the month, etc.
Okay.
And then we can do specific months, or we can do every month.
Now, what's
let's look at. Sorry, go ahead.
Can I just ask you real quick? What's maybe you're going to get into this, the purpose of the priority list?
So that's just
number.
if you have something that you want to show first here rather than fourth on the list, you would set that as priority 1, basically.
Got it.
So maybe for a group, biometric screenings are ending in a week, and you really want them to get their screening done if they haven't. Maybe you want to set up a custom task and have it as priority 1 and say, make sure you get your screening done. Task number 1.
Okay.
So it just shows where, or it just determines where it shows on the list.
Okay.
All right, so let's look at adding a custom task. You'll click Add Task, and then you can select a task type, or you can just do custom. Whenever I add a task, I don't even bother selecting a thing. Custom anyway. So I just do custom, or you can select from the categories. Also, if you'd like to see, you can look at this list to see sort of what categories we have for tasks, maybe to get some ideas if you write some custom ones.
Okay.
And then you can select the priority here. We only have 3. However, we can have 4 tasks showing at once in case you ever want to do that for a week. Our general rule of thumb is just to have 3, just because the longer the list that's shown to a user, the less likely they are to do anything on the list. So, yeah, so typically we'll just do 3, but you can do 4 if you want. And if anything for a week has the same priority as something else, it will just, I think it just does it in alphabetical order, maybe.
Okay.
But it doesn't affect anything. You can have 2 tasks that are first priority, and it doesn't like mess anything up or anything.
Okay.
Okay, so you select the priority that you want, and then you can select when you want it to run. So maybe for a group at the end of every month, you want a task to run that will remind them to maybe it's something specific for a group. So maybe they have a lunch and learn at the end of month. So maybe we want it to show the fourth Monday of every month, and we want the task attend this month's, or maybe if we want it to be attend this month's wellness seminar. And then we have the option to link to something, or you can just leave it blank. So as you can see right here for these tasks, they're hyperlinked to other places around the portal. For example, tracker will link to my tracker. Or if you just want to leave it or not link or anything, and you don't have to do that, and it will do that, and it will not obviously have an underline here. All right, so maybe we want to link to the company's website. You can do an outside website. So you could do, I don't know if that's your website, but anyway, you could do something like that. Or you can link to anywhere within the WellSteps Program Center. So you could do a specific wellness plan activity and link to the wellness plan page or something like that.
All right. Or this could be like a link to that whatever that wellness seminar is, like info on that.
Yeah, info on that. Or unfortunately, we can't link to like documents here. It can only be a website.
Okay.
Yeah, but it can be anything external or anything within the WellSteps site. And a trick that I will use here, so for example, if I'm creating a custom rewards task, I just click on the rewards page and then just copy the URL and just paste it in there, and then it links to rewards.
Okay.
So that's an easy way to get the URLs that you need. Just going to wherever you want it to link to, copy the URL and then paste it.
Okay.
And then this also links to the calendar function, which we'll talk about in just a second. So once you create any custom tasks, select those from the drop down here, and they'll show on the calendar. And if the user clicks on this task, it will also take them to the calendar to show you that event or whatever's been set up.
Okay.
All right, and then you save your task, and then it will show on the list. And then you'll just check it off to activate it. And something I forgot to show you, I will just view by week. I just want to see the tasks that are running for a specific week, and that makes it much more nice to look at rather than the whole list of
Everything.
stuff. Yeah. So here's my list that will be showing next week, and I have my custom tasks, and then maybe I want to just uncheck, like I don't want that one to show, so I uncheck it, and then as soon as you make any to the preset tasks, it will show the custom tasks. So as you can see, I unchecked the box, and now it's showing custom test company task here.
Got it.
If you make any edits to a currently existing task, which you can also do, you can open any currently existing WellSteps tasks and make edits as you'd like. If you would like to revert back to the original task, you can just click delete, and it actually won't delete the task. It will just delete all of your customization and any of that. So as you can see, it didn't actually delete the task, it just reverted it back. However, if I don't want it to show at all, you could just uncheck the box. So there's a couple of different options for currently existing tasks. You can customize them, or you can inactivate them.
Okay.
So does that make sense, setting up the tasks and deactivating?
It does now. Yeah, and just on like the bigger picture of things, like when you set this up like prior, like early on, right? So just like you're setting up your campaigns and all that kind of stuff, you go in and just pre-plan all this.
Right. And actually, with tasks, there's not usually that much work involved because typically we want all of the tasks to show for all of the tools. But
Right.
maybe there might be some custom tasks for the first few weeks of a program. Maybe you want to highlight a certain tool, or maybe you want to provide information about the program right off the bat. So maybe you want to link to a website or something for the first few weeks.
Got it.
That's what I would do before the program kicks off. I would just create those custom things. But a lot of times, actually, the coordinators will just email saying, or maybe they just want to highlight a certain event that's going on or something, and you just do it in the middle of a program year and create a custom task. So with tasks, it's more something that is sort of ongoing during the program year.
Right.
But you could definitely set up everything for the year before the program launches.
Okay.
I would say I definitely do the first month of a program just because it's nice to have more specific information provided than what's
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, typically what I'll do is I'll look at the first week of the week of the launch and what's showing, and then I'll just create some custom stuff based on that. Or maybe I'll just work with what's already available and customize things or link somewhere different or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if you want to remove tasks for a whole tool, for example, maybe you don't want any of the TLC things to show. And actually, if you don't have TLC scheduled, the TLC tasks won't show. They'll only show if you have it scheduled. But maybe you have it scheduled, but you aren't anticipating that a lot of people will use it, or maybe you're using it as an alternative standard for having unhealthy values or something. If you want to remove those tasks, you can just go down the list. And actually, I can sort by type here, so we can find all of the TLC ones down on the list. Yeah, so you could just go down the list and inactivate all of the different tasks in that specific tool. So that's an option there if you want to do that. But again, none of the tasks will show unless there's something applicable to it. So a campaign task will never show unless there's actually a campaign running, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And as you can see, we have the different macros here. So it will show specific to the campaign. It will show the campaign title. Sometimes it will show the week. Or as you can see, it'll say campaign title. Yeah. Okay, I think that's tasks. Okay. Now we can go to calendar, since calendar ties into tasks. You can sort of combine them if you'd like.
Okay.
So we have a calendar tool, and I'll go from the user view first. So over here in the menu bar, there's a calendar tab. And when you schedule campaigns and challenges, those dates are pre-filled into the calendar. So as you can see, I have make over here, and then the current date is highlighted in yellow. Now, as an admin, we can set up specific events on days, and we can make them register events, so the user can go in and register for the event, or we can do, I think we can link to websites through this. You'll look at the admin features. Anyway, that's the calendar that we're talking about. So if we go to miscellaneous, we will go to the calendar tab. And this is where you can manage all of the calendars for all of your groups. So we'll go to the company that we want to work with, and it will pull up the same calendar that the user sees, but this is where we can actually add things in. So for example, maybe we want to add an event on the 27th. In order to add an event, you'll click on the date, and then it will pull up a little scheduler box. So we can add in an event title. So maybe we want to do a wellness seminar. And we can add in a description, so when the user clicks on it, they'll see the description. And then we can hyperlink to something else. And this linking process is kind of funny, so I'm going to read this to make sure I get it right. Okay. So URL string. Okay. So it looks like you do the URL first. So maybe we do. I'll just do. But of course, you could link to any website. And then you do the line, and then you do the text that you want it to appear as. So all of this text here would be hyperlinked, but maybe you just want seminar to be hyperlinked.
Right.
Then I think you could just do and then close bracket.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you need the bracket. Oh, maybe you need the bracket. Anyway,
Looks like it.
obviously, I have never used this tool or this feature. I've never used this hyperlink feature. I typically will just do a straight event in the calendar. Anyway, I think this is how it works. Yeah, if you use this and you find out it works differently, let me know.
I will.
Oh, now I'm embarrassed. I should have tested that before.
No, don't be.
Okay, so you can hyperlink to things.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, I'll just hyperlink within a task or something different
Yeah.
to drive the user to the calendar, just because I don't know. Sometimes it's nicer for the user just to have the link somewhere else. Anyway, yeah, so you can do a description, and then we have a few different options. So you can do user category. You can only show it for certain things. So for example, maybe spouses are involved, but it's only offered to employees who are on site, so you can uncheck the spouses. You can also do it for a specific location, and this is nice because a lot of the events that will go on the calendar are specific to locations. Maybe it's just an on-site activity or something. So you can do location there. And then we can do an all-day event, or you can select certain time constraints on the event. So let's say this event is going to start at 12:30 and will end at 2. So now we have the start and end date and the start and end time. And then we can set up some registration settings. So if you'd like the user to register for the event, you'll go over to the registration settings tab and check registration event. And then we have a few other options here. We can allow spouse participation to open registration to spouses, or you can leave that blank, and then we can do fill by room capacity or fill by time slots. And time slots comes in handy in case you want to use biometric scheduling for the group, or maybe health coaching sessions, something like that could be time slots. But for a seminar activity, that would probably be room capacity. So maybe we want to set the limit at 60, cap registration at 60 people. And then we can set up a reminder option for the registered event for those who register. So we could put remember your event, or remember seminar. So you could do a specific subject line, and then you can do a message here using, and we have the macros list. Use that message. Let's see. And then you can select when you want the reminder to send. So you can do up to a week before, 15 minutes before, up to a week before.
Okay.
And then you can do the earliest send date. Oh, wait, let's see. Oh, I guess that just pre-fills based on your start date.
Okay.
Or start time. Okay. So those are reminder options, and this will send as an email. I don't think it sends a text message. I think it just sends as an email. Okay. And then once you have people who are registered, you can view the participant list here and unregister anyone. So let's save this event. And then it will show here, and you can see this little register box. So let me go to my calendar on the user side, and we can see how it looks. All right, so now if I'm a user and I want to register, I'll click on the register.
That's really cool.
Oh, okay. It looks like you can decide how you want it to be sent to you. And in that case, when I'm writing the reminder, I just try to keep them short anyway, but for text messages, we do 120 characters, I think is the rule of thumb. So since users can decide, we just keep the reminder message short.
Okay.
Okay, so they can decide how they want to be reminded and then register. And now on the admin side, we can come in. Oh, let's see. Maybe I have to click on. Oh, there it goes. Okay. So now I can see my registered users, and I can unregister a user from an event if I need to, but the user can also unregister themselves.
Okay.
You can unregister there. And then if you do a time slot event, when the user registers, they'll be able to select their time from the drop down based on what you set up.
Okay.
So I'll just look at that quickly. Let's see. Oh, okay. So let's do start time. So if you do time slots, you can select the intervals that you want to be made available.
Mm-hmm.
And then the user will have those intervals from a drop-down menu, and they can register for a certain time slot.
Okay.
And then all of those options all of the registered options will show on a report, and you can pull it and see all of the registrants and what time they registered for and all of that.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's everything with the calendar. Questions on that or scheduling
No.
events?
No, that's good.
All right. Perfect. Well, I think that covers it for the remaining customizable tasks on the home page.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. I think that will be good for today. And then next time we'll go over reports and the coaching platform.
Okay.
I think that will do it. All right. Any general questions over anything we covered?
Not really. I mean, at some point I'll probably want to pick your brain about just kind of like what it looks like when you go and meet with a client the first time and kind of go over everything that WellSteps has to offer.
Oh, definitely. I actually have that down in the 6th training session.
Oh,
So,
good.
Yeah, we'll definitely go over that.
Yeah, because I know that's like, I mean, that's where my brain goes when I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, this is so much information. There's so many tools and so many things that they can use. How am I going to, communicate this to them without overwhelming them on all these options,
Definitely. And we definitely start out on a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Broad.
Condensed, maybe?
Yeah, condensed. We definitely don't talk about everything right off the bat. It's more, the sales team will let us know what they're looking for, and then we sort of tailor implementation based on that. We won't come out of the gate saying we have WellSteps Plus and Wellness Plan and rewards and all of that. And
yeah.
So we'll talk about that a couple of sessions down the road. But
okay, good.
Yeah, it's definitely good to think about, and we have a very specific. Well, it's just all tailored to the groups based on what they want to do.
It's just so like for me, without having a group in mind right now, it's like it's so extensive what we can offer them.
Yeah, well, and definitely for you as an admin as well, there's just so many tools that we have access to on the back end. Most of it, like the user never really knows the admin side of things. Yeah,
Right.
It's mainly just admin stuff for you that there's just so much that we have that's offered to admins specifically that it is a lot. So
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, okay, well, good. I will actually be out of the office all of next week for the holidays and family weddings. So
good for you.
Yeah, my sister's getting married on the 28th, which is exciting.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah,
wow.
It's really exciting.
That's
Should be
really
good.
awesome. It's my daughter's birthday.
Oh, fun. How old is she turning?
She'll be 4.
Oh, that's so fun. Great.
Yeah.
Well, what are your plans for the holidays? We could pick up the second week of January, or we could look at doing something the week of New Year's Day. What's your schedule looking like for the next couple weeks?
I will be around. Let's try are you back home and working that week, the first week?
Yeah, it would be more like the second or the third, I think, would work the best that week. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably even the third. That might be the best day.
Okay, let me look at what my schedule is for that day and coordinate with my husband, childcare and stuff, and see what I'm doing that day, and I'll email you.
Great.
Do you have
Sounds
any
good. We can
preferences? Time preferences?
something early afternoon might well for me. Let's see. I guess it would be maybe 3 p.m. or later
Okay. I will.
for Eastern time.
Yeah, sure. I'll double check with that, and I'll just confirm it with you via email.
Okay, sounds good. We can, if that day doesn't work, we can definitely have something set up on the 7th. Just that first
Okay.
Monday back. That will work great.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
All right. Thanks so much, Nikki. Let me know if you have any
Yeah, thank
questions.
you.
If you
will.
are reviewing over the next couple of weeks and have questions, let me know. And we have knocked out a huge chunk of training, so
Awesome.
doing well. Anyway, all right.
Good.
Sounds good. Keep me posted on the
All
3rd,
right.
and we'll set up.
I will. Have a great holiday.
All right. Thanks. You too. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.
All right.